Hello Internet, it's Alex and Louis from Barefaced, and we're doing this video again that we've already done because it didn't really work representatively last time. So we have changed our microphone setup because we want to demo what our cabs sound like, and we're not really wanting to make our cabs sound as good as possible. We're wanting to give you an honest representation of what the cabs sound like. So we have changed the microphone setup. We now have a cardioid, large diaphragm condenser, down here, and a ribbon, figure of 8, here, facing sideways. So what we're doing is a sort of mid-side, what do you call it?
Yeah, I think it's mid-side, isn't it?
Yeah, mid-side stereo approach, but we're not going to then mix it in stereo because then if you listen to it in mono, the stereo bits would cancel. So what we're going to be doing is blending the room sound from the figure 8 mic with the direct sound, which is still a room mic from the cardioid mic, but as we've noticed from listening back from the super cardioid mic that's on the camera, it didn't sound like it sounded to us.
Not
It was making, whichever cab it was pointing at most was making sound brighter, or wherever the cab was pointing. So
Too much directional stuff.
So what we have here is a Upsizing. So this is our big 2x12. So this is, what width is this? It's 2 foot wide, 610mm, 24 inches wide.
Yep. So
it's the width of our 410 and 610 bass cabs, but it's basically sized up so you can put bigger, but not full-size Marshall heads on it, looking cool, but you know, pretty big heads. This is our Uprising, as you may know, so vertical 212, and this is our Radical, which is our horizontal 2x12. This is the single AVD version. We can do ones with 2 AVDs. AVD is this thing in the back. This is in a reformer, so as you can see the back of the speaker. There is air coming out of there, there is sound coming out of there. At low frequencies, it's a Helmholtz resonator. At mid and high frequencies, it's some sort of diffraction slot with waveguide. It's similar to some high frequency and mid-range PA speaker designs, stuff like that. But that means you're getting the sound from the front and the back of the cone, and the back bit's helping spread it around the room. And it massively improves audibility for yourself, your bandmates, and if it's a smaller venue, the audience and everything. Yeah. You've gigged it loads. It works.
It does work.
It makes life a lot easier in the real world.
It really does. You're not reliant on anything.
A couple of our guys did a gig at the weekend.
Yep.
And the sound engineer saw what they were using and was like, "Are you endorsed by Barefaced?" And they were like, "No." And he was like, "I love their stuff."
Great.
Yes.
Yeah, I do always get sound engineers compliment my guitar sound, which is a good sign.
Yeah. It makes life easier for sound engineers, it really does. So it makes life easier in rehearsals as well if you want to hear each other. So we're going to demo these. We have our new guitar, Reverend Eastsider. So it's Pete Anderson's signature.
Telly.
Yeah, it's a Telecaster. Made very nicely.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's great. Great value. A lot of guitar for the money. And we've got a cool little pedal board down here, which we'll tell you about in another video, because we want to crack on with the sound of these. Oh, Egnator tweaker, 15 watt head. We don't need it to go loud, obviously. And these drivers have got these cabs have got our stock driver in, which is a Celestion Vintage 30.
They're all 8 ohm cabs.
So that's a 60 watt speaker, a Vintage 30. I think it's 30 for centimetres because it was the 1980s when it came out.
Is it? That's really
So they were trying to be cool.
Right, okay. That's really fun.
30 centimetres is 12 inches if you're in the USA. The rest of the world know what that is. Right.
What makes the most sense to start? Radical and go up? I don't know why that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, over here we're gonna play heavy-ish drive stuff because that's what these cabs, I guess, are more speaking towards. I mean, they're versatile, but this is obviously heavy and low, and that was the idea behind this.
Yeah, the other thing I noticed, I haven't shrunk or not. I'm standing in the Barefaced inspection pit. Yeah, the thing I've noticed when demoing stuff is dirtier sounds tend to have more bottom and more top.
Yeah.
So they show off bigger tonal differences with drivers and cabs.
Well, let's do that then.
And also you get more consistency because any variation in pick attack gets kind of squished and hidden by distortion. I think it helps a lot.
Covers up my dodgy right hand. All right. Well, we'll start on the big muff then, why not? We are in the Radical. Let's do that again.
Cool.
Yeah, they're very different, aren't they?
Yeah. What are you hearing from your position? So Louis in a kind of standard where guitarists stand sort of position.
I'm often this far and on this angle to my cab. That's got more top. I'm getting more top from that.
Right.
I don't know why I did that. Feels like it's getting more bottom as well, but as we said, it's more low. It's low mid.
Yeah.
It's not bottom because that has the bottom, I think, but not like that has it.
Yeah.
That's really got like low end. Like, I guess depending on what you're playing, in a standard rock thing, like that was a kind of Smashing Pumpkins-ish thing, right? You might be peeing off the bass player a little bit.
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
I don't know.
I noticed that, to me, the Uprising is kind of fattest sounding. It's it's chunkiest.
Yeah, it is.
It's also the least tight sounding.
That's a good way of putting it, yeah.
The Radical is the tightest.
Yeah, it is.
The Radical is very together.
It almost feels like more compressed, even though that's the wrong word.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
It is more together. It isn't... It's fractionally less loud.
It is.
In the mids, I think.
Yep.
And it's... Yeah, tidier. I think it's the Radical is a very tidy together sounding cab.
Yeah, yeah.
The Uprising sounds fatter.
It's open.
More of the room. It sounds more... It tends more towards an open back vibe slightly.
Well, it's got more...
But it's chunkier.
AVD in the back.
So that's... The Uprising is a dual AVD cab. So you've got... This is going all the way up. So you're getting the mids and highs from both drivers.
Well, that makes a lot of sense then, doesn't it, I guess?
The Radical, on the other hand, has one AVD. So you get...
On that one.
The mids and highs off the back of this coming out. But it's also... This is driving that AVD with its lows. And there's a port to help tune it.
Yeah.
The port's not working separately, the port's there to help tune the AVD.
And that's low pass, which, as you've said, means there's no interference between the low end
and the drivers. Because these are side by side, we didn't want the dispersion pattern to be narrowed by having a large wave source. So all your highs are coming off one speaker, so it will be tidier.
That's what's making
Especially
it
when the highs are breaking up, because the speakers, although they're identical, they're not identical because you can't make two identical loudspeakers. No. They're very close to identical, but particularly once they're in their breakup modes, different. This, the Upsizing, I feel that's got deeper lows. That has more bigness to the sound. It's not as
low.
It's less blurry than that. I think it's more
just
clear.
tighter again.
Yeah,
it's tighter again like that is compared to that, but it goes lower.
But it's more thunderous than that. So the Upsizing is more thunderous than Radical. I personally feel the sort of change we're hearing between the Uprising and the Upsizing is a bit like the change from an upright piano to a grand piano.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense actually.
Yeah. Or the change you get when going from a short scale bass to a long scale bass.
Right, okay.
Maybe a bit like the change if you had the same pickups, but it's more extreme than that, from going from a Gibson scale length to a Fender scale length.
Right, yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's that.
It's a cool sounding cab.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
It's kind of expanding the sound. People would... A classic mistake people make when thinking of cabs is that a bigger cab will have fatter lows, and often it won't be the case. It will have deeper, bigger lows, but it won't necessarily sound as fat.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's that brain thing, isn't it? That human
like a lot of people think reggae bass sounds that have got really deep lows. Often they don't have really deep lows. They've just got a lot of lows in the fat area, this kind of 100 hertz area.
Right, yeah.
Not down at 50 hertz, or people think really low lows are at 30 hertz. There's some down there, but there's not a lot of musical ones.
Yeah, true. Nice ones.
That's the bottom, that's the fundamental of a low B on a bass, and not a lot happens down there. It tends to be an octave higher, but they're all then stacked more closely because of the way harmonics work. That was cool.
Great. Should we do a bit of clean
yeah, absolutely.
Because, yeah, I mean, it's still dirty, but we'll do the repetitive and see what difference it makes when it's not as dirty. Exactly the same.
Yeah.
Which is really satisfying. Yeah, I'm hearing exactly the same differences. It's obviously not as pronounced because we're in this at the moment, right? It's sounding a bit toppier than I noticed it was when we were like fuzzy and dirty, because that had more top at that point. I think it still does, but maybe it's not that there's more top, maybe it feels a bit thinner. Again, just a bit tighter and more controlled. But the top end's coming out more on that this time.
I can see the Radical working very well in dense mixes. You know, particularly if you are the sort of person who's needing a powerful head, needing the sort of head that fills all this space, whether it's a 50 or 100 watt beast on there and you're cranking it, that extra tightness could probably help.
Yeah, it's like second guitarist as well, something like that, working with another guitarist. That's like, I play in quite big bands and I use that. I play with like 3
You don't often have another guitarist, do you though?
I don't, but we'll have like a always keys player, 3 horns, 3 vocals sometimes.
Yeah.
And that doesn't get too, it still works.
Yeah.
Obviously how you set your amp and stuff. And I don't have just V30s in mind, so...
No.
Then there's the whole driver conundrum.
Yeah, you can have pretty much any Celestion driver with us. We'll do any Eminence driver now.
I mean, you can have a 15 in that as well as a 12 even, right?
Yeah, this, you can have it as a 212.
Yeah.
A 12 plus 15, or we'll even do you a 15 and 15.
Well, it'll fit with it, 2 15s, awesome. Yeah, so that's going to go
stuff.
Really low, that is. That's like...
And if you're going with the 15-inch versions, we can do an adapter plate, so you can have it with a 15, but then swap that 15 to a 12.
That's so
Or you can order it as a 212, but choose to have it made for the 15 with the adapter plate in it. So if you want to experiment in the future.
Well, is that low enough for like Charlie Hunter stuff? Or would you still want a bass driver in there for some of that stuff? Like, because it's low.
Yeah. I would want to have bass drivers in it. There's other potentials with these cabs to have, in both the Radical and the Upsizing, we've got options of 1 or 2 AVDs. This is a dual AVD Upsizing. So the Uprising is always full AVD, double top and bottom.
Yeah.
But the Radical, you can have it with a single AVD as standard, or a dual AVD if you've got mixed drivers. We can also do them with split enclosures. So the woofers, the drivers are operating in separate airspaces, which means you could have radically different drivers. You could choose to put 15 watt, and we can do it with a biamped stereo backplate. So you could have 2 different amps. You could have a 10 watt Class A head driving a Celestion Blue for your mids and top, and then you could have a 200 watt solid state thing driving a Neo 250 copper back, or a BN12 300S, which is a 300 watt bass driver that sounds good on guitar.
That's wet dry stuff in
so you can do wet dry stuff and things like that. And likewise, that's possible with this, and we can also do different tunings, so you can have ones that are down tuned.
Yeah, okay.
So this is the highest tuned one, but you can also, the standard tuned one will be tuned about the same, but with 1 AVD, or you can have it with 1 AVD and lower tuning, or 1 AVD and even lower tuning. So lots of possibilities for filling the niche that you happen to live in.
Yeah, whatever you need, because most people do just sit in one thing, don't they? Like, you're not going to go playing a doom band one day and then playing a funk band the next. So I mean, it's possible, but most people do a certain
Should we do a one more dirty sound? Not the fuzz, but the... Cool.
A rap. That's a rat.
Yeah, this is a rat-ish thing.
Yeah, rat-ish
Very rat,
thing.
actually.
They're the same
They're
again.
all doing the thing.
What we want them to do, and that's really good. That's nice to know.
Just very satisfied.
Yeah?
Cool.
Which one do you like? I don't know. Tell us.
Yeah. Let us know what you're hearing. So what we're going to do is we will mix this down. So essentially our voices will be through the camera mic, and then what you're hearing of the cabs will be through the large diaphragm condenser and the side mic, figure 8. And together, with a fairly even mix of the two, it seems to represent what we have been hearing in the room. And that's what we're hearing in the room, both at the sort of player position. Well, actually, it's a funny old thing. I mean, Louis is basically in the small venue, small stage, normal player position. Whilst when I'm over here, I'm getting much more into the festival stage, just getting a bit of room between you and the cab.
That's true.
But when you're in that position, you've probably also got fold backs, side fills, stuff. All that sort of thing.
But we're still kind of hearing the same thing based on that.
It's very consistent.
Which is good.
It's very consistent, which is the goal with the AVD, because if you've ever listened properly when playing guitar,
it's really hard to do.
Actually listen to yourself rather than just get on with playing and listen to the rest of the band. You'll notice when you move around the room, you sound very different, and this is why so many sonic problems happen on gigs, especially the smaller, the less PA stuff, the less engineers, the less monitoring there is, the bigger the problem is, and this also repeats in rehearsals in a big way.
The drummer won't be hearing what you're hearing, vice versa.
Yeah, and the classic turning up too loud because you're standing too close to your cab, which is so easily done in a rehearsal space. I mean, this is not a big room, but we rehearse in here and with different bands, and it always works.
It always seems to work, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That was brief and efficient. Well, brief for us.
Yeah.
under 20 minutes.
That's pretty good going.
Yay!
Nice one.
We've been Alex and Louis from Barefaced. We will see you with more weaponry, if we're allowed to say that. Maybe. Maybe not. I'm not sure. Thank you. Rock on.